Well, good afternoon, everyone, and it is a pleasure to be with you here today as we're celebrating the introduction of the Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act of 2026, affectionately known as SAWA. This bill is years in the making, and its reforms are long overdue. Congress has not updated the H-2A visa program since Ronald Reagan was president of the United States. And if you ask anyone who uses the program, they'll say that you can tell that based on the program. Now, I serve as chairman of the House Agriculture Committee on Agriculture, which means the subject of ag labor falls outside of our jurisdiction. However, while it is not, it is certainly, while it may not be in our jurisdiction, it is certainly our interest, in the interests of the farmers and the ranchers, the foresters that we represent. And that's why we're all here today. When we're writing the Farm Bill, I traveled across the entire country asking producers what they needed from Congress so that they could do the important work of feeding and clothing the world. The issue of agricultural labor kept being brought up. The lack of domestic workforce for these jobs, how cumbersome the H-2A visa program was, and the fact that the cost of ag labor was pushing some farmers to the brink of bankruptcy. I decided we couldn't sit back and let someone else solve this problem. And that's why the Ag Committee formed the Bipartisan Agricultural Labor Working Group last Congress. The bill that we have before us today is modeled after the recommendations that came out of that group. There are three main categories of reforms within the Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act: expanding access, controlling costs, and streamlining the overall process. I have many guests here today who can speak on the importance of these reforms and the impact that they will have on producers around the country. But before I turn it over to some of my esteemed co-sponsors, I want to thank the producers, the co-sponsors, and the stakeholders who are here today in this room with us, or along with who are watching at home. This is a bill written by agricultural stakeholders for agricultural stakeholders, and I'm so proud to have stood by your side through this process. Our work has only begun, and I look forward to continue to advocate on your behalf. Now I'd like to turn it over to my good friend, Congressman Dan Newhouse, from the great state of Washington.
Thank you, GT. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson, Chairman Thompson. Appreciate very much the hard work you put in on this very, very important issue. I am Congressman Newhouse, one of the few farmers or ranchers in the U.S. Congress. Out of 535 members, there's probably 24 farmers, and I'm one of them, kind of a dying breed, perhaps. But we're third generation, now fourth generation, with my son running the farm, he and his wife. Let me just tell you, we are struggling, as many farmers are, to hang on. It's tough out there in ag country these days, and that's why this is one of the very most important things that we are facing. Streamlining and updating the H-2A program, that's one of the biggest reasons I ran for Congress, and I'm very happy to be able to stand in front of you today talking about some of the progress that we have made in this important legislation before us. You know, in central Washington, where I come from, that's where specialty crops are. We raise tree fruit, hops, wine grapes, lots of different things that require a lot of labor intensive. Farmers need a reliable workforce to make that kind of farm work. But many growers struggle to find the workers that they need in their communities, forcing them to go outside and utilize the H-2A program. But the cost of that program truly is putting a very big hardship on our farmers, on their bottom lines. And when you couple that with inflation and the high costs of inputs that people are facing, let me tell you, very few producers are actually making money. And these are businesses. I can tell you over the last couple of years, there's not a single grower of Washington apples that has made a profit. So for years, my constituents have asked me, what can Congress do? Can Congress do anything to help us with this issue? And that's why I have worked very hard during my tenure in Congress to take a look at and introduce several pieces of legislation to address H-2A visa reforms. So I'm very proud to be joined by Mr. Thompson, our chairman, and these other fine sponsors of this legislation in introducing the Securing Agricultural Workforce Act, a product of months, truly months, of hard work and deliberation and negotiation between members of Congress and industry stakeholders, of which many of them are with us today. So we're very proud to introduce this project. This comprehensively reforms the H-2A program, from expanding access to controlling costs, streamlining the process, ensuring that farmers and producers have that necessary workforce in order to make their farms successful. So this is not going to benefit just specialty crop growers, although it will. But this truly will benefit farmers across the nation. So I want to thank Mr. Thompson for his leadership in putting this group together last Congress and bringing it forward to where we see legislation today that I truly think we have an excellent chance with this kind of coalition, this kind of interest, and the understanding of the urgency of the situation facing American farmers today, that we can get this across the finish line. And with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Josh Riley from the great state of New York's 19th District. Josh?
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. And Chairman, thank you for bringing us all together today. I came here to Congress last year not to work for any political party or political agenda, but to work for upstate New York. So I may be the only Democrat standing here today, but I'm standing here for one simple reason, which is that this bill is so important for the farmers and the farm workers and rural communities I represent in upstate New York. New York 19 is home to about 5,000 farms, over 1 million acres of farmland, and our dairy farms are the heart and soul of our rural communities. So when upstate dairy farmers told me the milk pricing formula was unfair and out of date, I worked across the aisle with many of my colleagues here to fix it in the Farm Bill. Worked across the aisle, one of our proudest accomplishments was getting the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act signed into law so upstate dairy farmers can provide nutritious milk in local schools. And when I visit our dairy farms and ask, what is the thing that keeps you up at night? The answer I get the most is that our immigration system is completely broken, and it's hurting our dairy farms who can't get access to the labor they need. It's hurting our dairy farm workers who are more vulnerable than they've ever been, and it's hurting working families by raising the cost of groceries. So today, I'm working with my colleagues here across the aisle to fix it. The Bipartisan Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act will modernize and simplify the H-2A program. The immigrants who work our dairy farms are some of the hardest working people you will ever meet, and they make our communities so much stronger. This bill gives them the legal protections they have earned while cutting red tape for farmers who should be focused on feeding our communities, not fighting against bureaucracies. I think at home, when people see what's going on in Washington these days, they see a lot of dysfunction and a lot of division, and that can be very frustrating. But what we're doing here today is the exact opposite of that. It's Democrats and Republicans coming together to listen to rural America for once and to come up with a common sense solution that's going to improve people's lives. And I'm very proud to be part of this effort. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague from Idaho, Congressman Mike Simpson.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, you just have to look up to him, don't you?
So what was it?
I just said you had to look up to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Only in the literal sense.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. I want to, first of all, thank Chairman Thompson, affectionately known to all of us as GT, for his work on this bill. This is an issue that I've been working on for 20 years. And I have to tell you, first of all, I'm not one of those farmers that Dan talked about in Congress. I was a dentist in the real world, but I got to tell you, we love our sugar beet growers. So, Anyway, this is an issue I've been working on for probably 20 years with the dairy industry in Idaho and the challenges they face. We've had several bills. Dan and I have worked on some other bills and stuff. It became impossible to get it done, particularly with the open border and the challenges that faced. But since the president has closed the border, I think we can get this done. And I appreciate the Ag Committee taking this up and giving us a bill that will reform the H-2A program and move us forward. Because every farmer I talk to, every single one, the number one issue is labor and getting a legal workforce. And this is not just, as we've said, for agricultural producers or those working in agriculture. This is for the American people. These people produce the food that feeds America and feeds the world. So this is of benefit to all Americans. So it's very important that we get this bill done. I'm proud to co-sponsor it, and I'm proud of our Agricultural Committee for taking on this, because this is a tough challenge. As you know, anytime you mention the word H-2A, immigration, anything like that, it creates controversy out there. This is something that's needed, as I said, not just for agriculture, but for the American people. So I'm proud to be a co-sponsor of it, and I look forward to working with the rest of the team here to get it done. It's now my honor to introduce the Honorable Chairman of the American Farm Bureau, Zippy Duvall. Zippy, you bet. I'm going to come and stand on this side of you.
Well, thank you so much, and it's great to be here today. We've been looking forward to this day for a long time. For those of you that don't know me, I'm still a farmer. I go home every weekend and pay the bills and listen to all the complaints, try to set up everything for the next week, and then I come back and go back to work here. But I take a lot of pride, and it's an honor to be able to represent the farmers and ranchers across this country. Almost a little over 5 million members of our organization, and we work hard for them every day, and got a great team doing that. Mr. Chairman, we call each other, we're twins, if y'all didn't know it. By way of my mother, she was raised in his home state, so. But it's interesting. I've met him all across this country, and we've had a good time listening to farmers and ranchers. And I want to thank you from all the farmers across the country for your leadership and commitment that you and your people, your staff has done to make sure that this issue gets the attention it gets. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of listening, and it's taken a long time, and we've heard that referenced earlier today. And it is the most urgent issue that faces American agriculture today. It limits us from being at full potential of production of food for our country, because we just can't have enough. People ask me what keeps me up at night. Yeah, it's labor, but it's also opportunity for young people to come back to our industry. And why would a young person coming out of college come into agriculture when he knew he wouldn't be able to find enough workers to actually do the work on a farm, or expand his parents' farm, or try to create his own farm? And we have to fix those problems around labor so that we can do that. But I have a personal interest in this. I came to this job after I made the decision early on, after 3 generations in my family of dairy farmers, to stop milking cows. And it wasn't because I didn't want to milk cows anymore. I absolutely loved milking my cows. They were all just part of my family, and I had spent 30 years of my grown-up lifetime with my dad and my granddad before that, building that herd of cows. But because I couldn't find enough reliable labor to show up and help me take care of those cows, I had to make the decision to quit. And it was one of the toughest decisions I ever made in my life. Quit doing what you and your father and your grandfather did before you is a very difficult decision. And I miss them every day. I miss milking my cows every day. But I tell people today that 20 years ago when I quit milking, at the age of 50, I was an older man then than I am at 70, because it had almost broken me down, because I was trying to get it all done with so few workers. It was just absolutely physically killing me. So I have a personal interest in getting this done. In the H-2A program currently, doesn't allow for a dairyman to use it because it doesn't allow for year-round workers. And not only dairy, but a lot of animal agriculture and a lot of other agriculture around this country has to have year-round workers. This is a good example of where problems of agriculture faces can't be solved with a one-size-fits-all. We live in different parts of the country, we grow different things, we have different soils and different environments. We have to have different types of policies to make sure this is done. But a lot of families don't have the option to do what I did, and I diversified into poultry and beef cattle when I let the milk cows go. A lot of families don't have that option to do that, and this act will help us be able to provide a way for them to find workers and be able to continue to do what their families have done for many, many generations. So, Mr. Chairman and all your colleagues that's jumped on board, there's a wide spread of support across this country among farmers and ranchers to get this done so that we can continue to grow the food and fiber of this wonderful food system that we know of and feed our families in America. So thank you so much for doing what you've done. We appreciate you so much, and we're going to be right beside you and proud to stand beside y'all to get this passed. Thank you.
Want to introduce the next speaker?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. So the next speaker comes from out west, from Western Growers. It's Dave. I had a moment of blank.
I taught you this. Think lasagna.
Yeah, you did.
Think lasagna.
Okay. Puglia. Dave Puglia. And we talk on the phone all the time, but I don't call him Puglia. Sorry, Dave. Dave and I have become good friends, and you know, the Western issues, like I was telling earlier, are different from the issues on the eastern side of the country. So I want Dave to come up, and he's the CEO of Western Growers and also co-chair of the Ag Workers Coalition with myself. Thank you, Dave.
I'm going to make you an Italian yet. It's going to take some time. Well, welcome all. I'm Dave Puglia. As Zippy said, I'm the CEO and president of Western Growers Association, and proud to serve alongside Zippy as co-chair of the Ag Workforce Coalition. Chairman Thompson, thank you so much for your leadership in introducing the Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act. Agriculture has been here before, several times, with past reform efforts that failed to cross the finish line. Since then, the need has only grown more urgent, which is why Congress must get this done now. Growers across the country have increasingly relied on the H-2A program, not by choice, but of necessity. And that is certainly true in the West. The domestic workforce simply has not been available in the numbers that agriculture requires. But while H-2A has become essential, it remains too difficult, expensive, and unpredictable for many farmers to use. This legislation addresses the challenges growers have raised for years. It streamlines the program, as the chairman said, reduces unnecessary administrative burdens, and builds on recent administrative reforms by bringing greater certainty to wage rules, one of the most significant cost pressures facing farm employers. Between 2018 and 2025, the national average adverse effect wage rate, which is mandated for H-2A employers, increased by more than $5.50 per hour, from $12.20 to $17.74. That 45% surge far outpaced an historically high inflation rate during the same time period of 28%, which again demonstrates why Congress must codify the recent changes made to the AWR provisions in the H-2A program, which goes to wage methodology. The bill is needed to protect domestic food production, support family farms, and ensure American families continue to have access to a safe, healthy, and affordable food supply. This legislation is a common-sense solution to the stabilization of American agriculture's workforce. Again, I want to thank Chairman Thompson, thank the members who have come to support this legislation. This is the starting line of a race, and we're all signed up to finish it, so I look forward to working with all of you to get there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, and I will introduce, following me, good friend, President of the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Association, Mike Joyner.
Thank you and good afternoon. This is a really, really good day, and I'm just very grateful to be a part of this. My name is Mike Joyner, and I am serve as the president of the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Association, and I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the Florida growers and specialty crop industry. We've got two really good growers here today, so if you get a chance, please speak to them. First, I want to thank Chair Thompson for your leadership, sir, in introducing the Securing America's Workforce Act into the members of Congress, including members from the Florida delegation who have joined as co-sponsors. Your support recognizes what Florida growers have said for many years and what's been said here. The ag labor crisis is one of the greatest threats to the future of American agriculture. Just let that sit. Farmers face many challenges that they cannot control: weather, markets, inflation, supply disruptions. But access to a legal, reliable workforce is one challenge that Congress can fix. We need to, that need is especially urgent in Florida and across the Southeast, where labor needs look very different from other parts of the country. Florida is the nation's largest user of the H-2A program. We estimate using about 55,000 guest workers this past year. Not because the program works well, but because growers have no other choice. Today the program is too costly, it's too complex, and it's too restrictive for modern agriculture, particularly in the operations that must plant, harvest, pack, and move fresh produce every day. And the stakes are really high. I recall speaking to one of our growers about 3 years ago, right after the adverse effect wage rate increased by 15% in the middle of their season. After this grower had already invested everything into the crop and the workforce, that spike translated into hundreds of thousands of dollars and unexpected labor costs that this family could not just simply pass along. And it certainly hadn't planned on it. Instead of focusing on improving their operations or expanding for their future, they were left to ask a much simpler question: how do we get through this season? I'll wrap it up by saying the Securing America's Workforce Act is the right step to overcome ag labor issues. It would improve access to legal workforce, bring more stability and predictability of cost, and reduce administrative burdens that make it harder for growers to stay competitive. Finally, FFVA strongly supports this legislation, and we look forward to working with Chair Thompson and the co-sponsors and the members of both parties to move meaningful agricultural workforce reform together. Thank you, and it's my honor to introduce to you former Ag Ambassador, Ambassador Greg Dowd.
Good afternoon. Greg Dowd, CEO of the National Milk Producers Federation. We are the farmer-owned cooperatives in this country that produce 2/3 of the milk that this country consumes every day. And first of all, I'd like to say, Chairman Thompson, thank you for your work on whole milk in schools, the Farm Bill, and now SAWA. We'll get to the tough stuff later on, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
More easy.
We're just the easy stuff here. Zippy said it best in the fact that the dairy industry has never had a visa program. We haven't had access to H-2A. And I want to introduce Brian and Cricket here behind me, are two of my bosses today, that I want to remind all of you that on the 4th of July, they're going to be milking cows. On Christmas Day, they're going to be milking cows. And without help, the cows don't get milked. And when the cows don't get milked, they go to town. Some of you say, well, that means they're going to the train station. That's exactly right. That's where they go. And that's the end of the road for the dairy farm. We have to have labor in this country. And for the first time, this bill gets us there. We need this bill. We're going to be doing everything we can here in the House and in the Senate. And Mr. President, we need access to the H-2A program for U.S. dairy farmers. So thank you all for your time and attention today. And we look forward to continuing this effort with all of you in the coming weeks and months. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Ray. Next is Marty Durbin, Senior Vice President of U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Mark.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and all of your co-sponsors for the leadership on bringing this bill forward. I know the U.S. Chamber of Commerce may not be the first organization you think of when it comes to agriculture, but we clearly recognize that agriculture is it's not just another sector, it's foundational to our economy and to our national security. And that's why this bipartisan legislation matters, because as we've heard from all of your other speakers, we have a workforce problem and it's only getting worse. And secondly, this legislation delivers practical, targeted fixes for those problems. Bottom line, it gives farmers the tools they need to keep producing. But equally important, this effort, this bipartisan effort, shows that it is a step towards broader immigration reform. Now that the administration has secured the border, as the chairman pointed out, time to address the rest of our immigration system. Our country is facing labor and skill shortages in many sectors. Congressional Budget Office is projecting a decline in not just overall population, but in working age population as early as 2030. You can't grow the economy with a shrinking workforce. So this bill matters so much because it shows we can pair strong border security with a modern visa system that meets our economic needs. And by the way, we're starting to see bipartisan recognition that targeted reforms can help address workforce shortages. Congressman Andy Harris just had an H-2B amendment passed in the Appropriations Committee, showing that we need that kind of practical bipartisan effort towards pragmatic sector-specific steps that can strengthen the workforce. So again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, to all the co-sponsors, and we look forward to working with you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. All right, and I think we have a little bit of time for any questions, if you have any, regarding the Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act. Any questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, I worked with Chairman Jordan for several months actually on this. We've worked with his team, and I think that I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but he's made it very clear he was really impressed how we were able to the process that we used to do this. Listening, bringing people in, the work group, which was strongly bipartisan, 8 Republicans, 8 Democrats, and how this issue came up as we traveled the country, probably over 160 listening sessions, 43 states, 1 territory. He was really impressed how we brought the industry together. Today we have, I don't want to get the number wrong, but I think we're over 400 agriculture organizations that have come together and endorsed the SAWA bill, and that's something we haven't necessarily had in the past. I think there were great efforts, starting with Congressman Goodlatte, the former chairman of this committee, who had 2 bills that were brought forward. The last bill that I voted for as well, but Mr. Newhouse, Mr. Simpson were part of the leadership for modernizing agricultural workforce. But this is the first time we've been able to bring, and I think that's something that Chairman Jordan, that on top of the fact that, quite frankly, the border is under the control, finally, of the United States of America. I like to say the border's always been under control. It was just by the cartels previously. And it makes a big difference when the United States is now controlling our own boundaries and our own borders. Yes, ma'am.
What makes you think that there's a political appetite to begin talking about reform of any kind? Because
there's not a constituent in America and a number of families around the world that do not pick up the tools of agriculture an average of 3 days a week or 3 times a day, knife, fork, or spoon, right? I think part of it is the border is under control. Part of it is the fact that food security clearly is national security, and workforce is a main factor. I mean, our farmers are up against a lot of issues at this point. Inflation's still high. Inputs are expensive. Some inputs are challenging to be able to get. I think we're making progress on trade, but discussions can be disruptive. I mean, although the Trump administration has secured 19 trade agreements the past 18 months, and I know for a fact that agriculture, working with the administration and USTR, Ambassador Greer closely, I know that agriculture is a top priority. That said, though, the highest cost, the highest variable when it comes to ability of a farmer to continue farming is the cost of labor. And as you heard in some of the remarks that my friends here have made, those the cost of labor has increased. Well, it basically has surpassed the impact of inflation by 70%, and that's significant. And so, and again, I come back to the fact that food security is national security. I think we saw that within the bipartisan work that we've done on the Farm Bill. And so I don't think this is our first rodeo addressing food security and national security through agriculture. And so I'm anticipating a good outcome on this. And the fact that we have, I think we're just shy of 50 original co-sponsors on this bill. That's an army of co-sponsors to introduce a bill, and we'll have a whole lot more. Those are individuals that have a stake in the game. One of the questions somebody asked me just previously: why is there more Republicans than Democrats on as a original co-sponsor? But you have to remember, to put your name on a bill as an original co-sponsor, I mean, that's a risk, right? I mean, you really have to have something that is so relevant to your district. And the fact that 92% of all planted acres are represented by Republicans. Now, I will say 100% of all constituents eat. And so I'm anticipating, where we're going to have maybe 50 or just shy of 50 original co-sponsors, we're going to have the second wave of regular co-sponsors is going to be impressive as well.
We have time for one more question. As Congressman Jordan, have you been speaking with the House Speaker Caucus about whether they would vote this besides being more popular?
Not specifically. I mean, that is a process, and I think you all know how important that is to me. I've spent a lot of personal time with all the caucuses in Congress when we were preparing for the Farm Bill, and so that will be something that will be a part of the process, no doubt. But I think with the number of original co-sponsors we have, we've probably touched on all the various caucuses already within Congress. So, O'Donnell, all right. Well, thank you all so very much, and thank you to all of you, and even more importantly, thank you to all of you for what you produce and how you feed this great nation. Much appreciated. Can't do it without you.